Oh, can't quite see.
No,
It's
a little better.
a little better. Maybe I'll.
You're okay.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, with the brick walls, you don't have much over here.
Yeah.
There is an outlet over there.
Yeah. You think
It's
that's
fine.
that'll be better? This side's okay too. No?
I mean, you could try. You'll just get the side of the speaker.
That's fine.
Yep, it's what it is. Yeah, but I have some flatter shoes, but all torn up on the bottom.
Oh, hi, Mom.
Hi.
Big one.
Who's the little Christmas? Mom, where?
I'm sorry.
Hi, Anna.
You want to put it on the stand?
We want to stand them.
Is that okay? Thank you very much.
She might get grumpy and hungry, and so this is for her. See, that's beautiful. Good love.
I think she's like, how come no one's opening it for me?
There's only two more. Pick one.
Come here, Robin.
Wow. Oh, you eat all already?
It's beautiful.
Oh, good.
You think I'm tired?
I was mad, he was mad.
No more than crazy.
Happy shark, baby shark, right? And is that mama shark? She just kind of, it used to be very long, remember it used to be very, very long, we just kind of got like, let me see. You wanna go over? Uh-huh. Like all the these flowers too.
Claire and Lisa need to
It's like, hi, Claire. Hi. Wow. Big, little. We gotta make sure your team.
Mars? Like a giant ball, right? I heard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Harvey. Aisha. Harvey. Tell your relationship is going.
You love cuckoo, huh?
Thank you, and thank you for the flowers. All the flowers.
We can use stickers for you, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes. I recognize you from your picture. Oh, that's the stream. It's just gonna stream. I'll wait till at least the last people make it in and then we'll start. Oh, see.
Okay, have a cup.
Oh, no.
The break, who they?
The one who rolled down my stairs. Two. Are they ready? Which one? Yep. What's the one? Is that one? Two. And then that's right. 3, 4.
That's what?
That's one.
What's that?
The triangle.
Wow, look at it.
That one points.
No. Yes. That's right. Yep. That's gonna be cool. And a triangle.
Might as well wait, we'll start once I realize it's
Okay.
But,
And that's what covers.
Oh, it's right here. Oh my goodness, more slowly.
So we're gonna get started in about maybe 5 minutes. For the people in the back who haven't signed, feel free to come in and sign afterwards. You don't feel obligated to sign like right now, there's still time afterwards.
You need Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Max home. You know this? You know this? This one? I'm no people.
Why don't you sit with her?
Just one. Yo need to go for Okay. I'm gonna sit.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today to support Chris's family. If you would, please have a seat. We're going to be starting momentarily. Thank you for coming.
Gonna go ahead, say hey.
Sorry, I'm just gonna be reading off of this because I don't know if I can really keep myself together very well. So, but first off, thank you all for coming. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for the tremendous amount of love and support that's just been outpouring from you guys for the last 3 weeks. There wasn't a day where I didn't get a text, a call, messages, flowers, food, you name it, to remind us of how we are loved from all of our different life streams. Chris had been quietly or not so quietly, depending on who you talk to, building communities around our little family from day one when we first took Lily to their first parenting class together. And it was him who, as a man, took our daughter to these mommy and me classes and, braving it and dealing with some of those challenges. He took her to NFL, to kinder music, my gym, Horizon Hills, Parks and Rec classes. He really, really believed that it takes a village to raise our kids, and he made sure that our kids would be supported as they grew up in our community. He had felt so blessed for us to finally have our quirky kids after dealing with years of infertility, to have a mix of a unique blend of DNA, and he loved them and he loved me so much that for him the phrase was always till the wheels fell off. His love, though, didn't stop with us. He embodied that whole love, truth, and honor to everything and everyone that he interacted with. He truly cared and listened and participated. He had stopped on a freeway to save a small dog that was just running on the road. And another time he stopped again because he watched a man suffer a seizure while driving. We were in a dim sum restaurant and a group of 20-year-olds were beating up on a single 50-year-old man because of a disagreement over seats. Chris immediately got involved to break up the fight because that's the type of person that he was. He called himself a dinosaur because of this part of his personality where he always felt like he had to do the right thing. As you all know, Chris for the last 2 years was working on a ventilator to make an impact beyond our little bubble here. He wanted to bring hope to the world by delivering a cost-effective ventilator to save lives and to continue developing simple and effective products to continue pushing the ball forward for humanity. He was a visionary who wanted to leave a positive impact to the world, and even though he has left us far too soon, I believe that his spirit and infectious personality has planted a little seed in all of us to listen, to continue learning, to laugh, and above all, to just be kind to the children. So, and with that, I'm not very familiar with how these services go, but feel free to come up and tell a story about how you met him. This is on in streaming, it's gonna be safe for the kids, so any tidbit of his life that you could provide them would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll shut up now. I'd first like to thank you all for coming. It means a lot to us, and I know it would have meant a lot to my brother that you're all here. While you all know him as Chris, the colleague, the friend, son, husband, and father, I'll always know him as Gogo. You see, when I was little, I couldn't pronounce the Mandarin word Gogo, which means older brother. And even after 30 years, I've never called him anything else. He'll always be my Gogo. While my brother was 11 years older than me, that age gap wasn't too big for us to have our own special bond. There are memories of him pushing me around in a box, pretending it was a car, making weird Play-Doh creatures on the dining room table, rolling down the grassy hills at Rec Park, and fishing with Grandma and Grandpa. He would pick me up from daycare when I was sick, and even when he went off to college in Irvine, I was included. He made sure that I would visit every once in a while, and we'd have an adventure for the day. Maybe that's in part why he was such a great dad, because he had practiced taking care of me. As the years went by and we both got older, our relationship was no longer just the little kid and her big brother. We could talk about life's frustrations, ask each other for advice, and at times confide in one another. He was great at talking. Anyone who knew him knew he had this gift. He could talk about anything and everything, and always had a thirst for knowledge no matter the subject, and he would definitely have an opinion to share. When he spoke with you, he had that unique ability to make you feel special, to make you see your self-worth and capabilities. His spark could make you feel invincible, even when you're riddled with self-doubt. And he would tell me that he was proud of me and to never give up. "You'll never forgive yourself if you do. Just fall and get back up," he would say. And you knew he meant that because that's how he lived his life. He would always come up with new ideas, sometimes fall down, but always got back up. Our amazing mother came to this country and worked so hard to give us these opportunities, and he didn't want that chance to go to waste. He was constantly inventing, problem solving, and moving faster than the Energizer Bunny. Maybe it was fate for me to call him Go-Go, because he was always going and going. He was an innovative dreamer to my rational mind, but taught me that it's okay to take risks and follow my dreams. It just breaks my heart knowing that he was about to accomplish all of his, and he already had a soulmate and most amazing wife with Regina, and the best 3 kids anyone could ask for. But his goal of helping people with his colleagues in their new business was really gaining momentum. That was his missing piece, finally turning into a reality. But with his passing, this brilliant man leaves us with something for us to learn. Sometimes we need to slow down and not work ourselves too hard. He was there for everyone in different ways, but was stretched too thin. Our minds may be invincible, but sometimes our bodies are not. He didn't know how to rest because Gogo was always going and going. Over these past few weeks, his passing has me thinking about what happens after we're gone. And while I still don't know the answer, in my heart I know that he is here with us. He'll always be watching over Regina and the kids. If anyone has the power and determination to do that, it would be him. He was and always will be so proud of the family that he made, and we'll always make sure to remind him of that. I'll miss you forever, my brother, my Go-Go. Thank you.
Yeah. Huh? Why are we staying here for long? Let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Bonnie, I'm a beautiful family. I met Chris at the start of his parenting journey about 5 years ago. Really was the pride and joy of everything. I just want to talk a little bit about it. I'm double masking because the last 2 years, this is the way I've seen his beautiful stuff with his children. Ellie right here, born in the middle of the pandemic, and his children running around trying to trick me with what was behind their back. So I'm going to tell a few really nice stories. The first word that pops up for me about Chris is unassuming. So I just loved when Chris came in and watched everybody and saw where the support was needed and lent a really encouraging and loving hand to whomever, like very humble and sweet. So let's see, I got to know Chris very well when I was teaching my paradigm about positive discipline, and that's where I really understood that everything he did was about the children, and that was his motto with me. I heard you talk about till the wheels fall off, and his motto with me was always, it's all about the children. And every time I would question or doubt, he was in Clubhouse and used to listen to him at midnight, talking with his med tech friends about this amazing invention that would save the human race. And he talked about how when he wasn't sure if he and Regina could have children, that he looked at the ants and he thought, how connected are we? And I want children just like that. And that's the dream that he got. So it was so neat to see the way Chris would look at the world when he watched the way we interacted in parenting. He said, I know what you're doing. And I am sure that the teachers who are here heard the same thing. You're rewiring their computer programming so that they can have full and happy lives and we can have full and happy lives. So it's really a neat way to look at it. A beautiful perspective born of intuition and brilliance and passion. I'm going to tell a story that I think is just absolutely Chris. It was 90 degrees on Halloween, I think 2 or 3 or 4 years always. And he was in Lily's class. Leslie was already born. And he was in the biggest, warmest, full-length bunny. Was it a bunny or a unicorn? Unicorn thing. And he's there and he's children and it's 90 degrees and he's absolutely covered because that's what Chris did for children and that was the passion that he led with. A personal story is bad luck with family, with my stepdad who became ill, and Chris offered to go to going with a friend to pick up the car that had been because my stepdad couldn't drive it back. And I said no until he, of course, insisted. And it turned out that his friend wasn't going. And so unbeknownst to me, Chris took an Uber down there, got the car, and made fast friends with my Uber, which, you know, if anybody has talked to Chris, half hour, he's made an indelible dent. And then he drove it back, and there was Regina and 5 kids, I think you were pregnant. I mean, it was just the most act of service, and I feel like everybody here has that, because when I've told that story, a lot of people have said, yes, that's the lengths that Chris went to. So the last thing I say is it really was his passion to really believe in his children. Everything was about his children. Meetings that they had just started and making sure that they knew how connected they were and how loved they were. And for me personally, it was about that Chris really saw me. Everybody who he has touched feels the same way. I just want to send up a prayer and Chris in this moment and make sure that the children and the family knows that we're always with you. That's right. Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those who do not know me, my name is Patrick Lonnie. In the fall of 2018, I was blessed to meet as both he and I joined the Sigma Nu fraternity. Chris and I, along with his brothers and sisters of the fraternity, shared a lot of adventures together during the years of the late 90s and early 2000s. Some of those adventures are definitely not limited to dancing and prancing on the UCI Performing Arts stage to a all in the name of charity, performing in charge of planning social events during that time, numerous ones down in Newport Beach, one of which titled Mike Bailey's Mai Tai Party. Through it all, and as young men, the fraternity taught us three core principles. Chris instilled and practiced those principles well after college, in his professional career, into his family. First principle, that of love. Chris loved his family and friends beyond all words description, going up and beyond with examples that everyone here can share. Whether you knew Chris for just a few or as long as decades, Chris would quickly grow an affinity to you and help you where and when he could, always offering the proverbial shirt on his back. Second principle, truth. Chris at times would tell you how it is, and often he would let you know it. Most often he would get the truth across in the form of comedy, such as myself in college. The principle of being punctual wasn't really my cup of tea. So he, along with other members of the fraternity, nicknamed me Slack Ass Pat, and that carried throughout college. Chris, I made it here on time. Third principle is honor. Chris's way of showing honor was by means of being a compassionate leader. When Chris would call me, it wasn't about how my family was doing. I had to fight to find out how he's doing. Another example of honor is his most work on bringing the ventilator to market and helping those with medical needs amongst the COVID pandemic. In closing, Regina, what I want to tell both you and your kids that the fraternity has your back. The brotherhood and sisterhood continues. I can speak for all the alumni of the fraternity that we are dedicated to Chris's love, to Chris's truth, and to his honor. We'll be checking in with you periodically from here on out and offer our support. Your kids have inherited dozens of uncles and aunts. Just say the word and we're ready to mobilize. LTH. We will see you on the other side, and your family's in good hands.
My name is Marty. I was first introduced to Chris as a hockey teammate. We played roller hockey together. And he was such a passionate hockey player and just passionate for his teammates. and even what's going on in our personal lives. The thing about roller hockey is once us guys put on rollerblades that make us about 3 inches higher, we're a lot tougher. And I was kind of a feisty little guy out there playing. Sometimes get myself into trouble. And but bigger than me, he'd come over and take care of business for me and make sure I was safe. Always loved Chris's passion in the locker room, on the rink. He was our team enforcer, really. And may his legacy be enforced in all our lives, today and always. And of course, we had a little locker room talk, me and guys. We all admired Regina, and would say, hey man, I'm the luckiest guy alive. I was so blessed to have her in my life. Last time I saw Chris was a couple of weeks before his passing, and Chris, Regina, and the family. And he and I gave each other a big hug. I'll never forget it. I love my teammate. Love to y'all, Regina.
Hi, I'm Dana. I already said hi, Wesley. I met Chris in my parenting class. He came with both of them. It was Lily's class, but Wesley was a cute little tag along. And something that struck me was how much he got to know the people around him and the things they liked and maybe on the like end of things. He found out I liked Studio Ghibli. And before Regina would even message me about a showing of a movie, he would have already told me. And I remember when he came into class and told us that they were expecting Ellie. I think it was way sooner than most people announce it, but he was too excited to contain the fact that he was expecting another child. And that excitement just infected the whole class that day. We were all just bouncing. This past winter, I got COVID and was having very weird symptoms. He was in another parenting class with the 2 kids for the spring. And whenever I would talk to him, I would say, I'm having this weird symptom. Maybe it's all in my head. The next day I'd get an article from a med journal with, yes, other people are experiencing this. It's not all in your head. He recommended respiratory therapists for me. He said he would talk to people and go to appointments with me if I needed him to. And just that level of care of noticing each individual and valuing them is something that will never be forgotten.
Oh my God, they're so big. They're so big. So all the other educators has motivated me to come up here. My name is Angie. I wasn't expecting to speak today, so I tend to be a little emotional of a gal. But these kids deserve to hear all their stories about their father when they're older. So it will not be as eloquently spoken as some of the other speeches, but Chris knew me as a teacher, Angie. And I as well met him when tiny little Lily and him came into my class. And I have a confession to make. It is part of my job to not recognize some parents who maybe are a little bit different than others. Something a little bit special. And Chris was it for me. He was the epiphany of the world's best dad. He just adored little Lily. And I remember when Regina found out she was pregnant with Wesley, it was just this, I mean, just a joy, just a joy. And those of us who have had to go through fertility understand what a little natural blessing. And then, of course, the day that they got implanted, with the third, oh, that was so exciting. But I want to talk to you guys about this picture right here. And this picture here was taken in front of my classroom. And I will never forget this day. And it's the epiphany of who he is. And another confession, Teacher Angie can be a little cranky in the morning as I'm running from Ventura up the grade with the traffic. Doesn't always put people in the best place to start teaching children. And I remember hearing Chris get there early and quickly running to the door and closing it because I wasn't ready and I wasn't in the mindset to speak to Chris. And when you spoke to Chris, he opened your heart and he opened your mind. And sometimes we are willing and able to take that energy and sometimes we're not. And I wasn't there yet. And I felt kind of guilty, but I quickly got everything settled and I opened the door and Chris comes with a English muffin. Oh, what is the McDonald's English muffin with the ham?
McMuffin?
An egg McMuffin, yes, thank you. My favorite, it's literally my favorite. And he found out, he said, I brought you your egg McMuffin. I thought, well, I feel guilty here. I like kicked him out for the day, right? Like, let me just finish my stuff, Chris. I don't have time to talk to you. And when I saw the picture later, and I heard the parents like conversating outside, that picture, which he had Wesley in his pack and Lily on his arm, was the epiphany of everything I knew about him. And if you guys ever wonder how you can be a better parent, and I myself, as a parent, even though I teach parenting classes, question, how can I be a better parent, right? And I have entered Chris in my mind so many times as to how to be a better parent. And not just how to be a better parent, but how to be a better spouse. Because Chris loved Regina. Ow! It was so his love for you, Regina. And we shared so many wonderful stories. And I remember when you guys had, we're debating about the new car in the minivan. And I texted him and I'm like, Chris, do it. Just do it. And I was so proud of him. Chris selflessly let me go as his teacher when I decided at the crazy journey. Helped me come to that decision. He came up with the ventilator. I texted him on the Sunday before his passing. And I said, Chris, I know I'm going to use that with my patients. And you have literally changed the worlds of those around you, which he so clearly has. But now you have changed the entire world. And I know that he's always going to be with me because I know I'm going to use that ventilator. And I want to know that it was him literally giving life to other people. I just love you guys and thank him so much for everything that he's given me and everything that your family has given me too. So Chris, I love you. And I love them. So big.
I see. Why? What did they do?
I'm not an educator. Far from it, but I did learn an awful lot from Chris, and I was blessed to meet Chris. He worked with me at Academy for a number of years. We took some real rides. We worked together an awful lot. I think I spent more hours in the office with Jorge and Chris, not understanding how Chris said, because he's so dang brilliant. But we'd go to breakfast or we'd go to lunch, and I would almost put a pool of how long it would take. But Chris was such an entrepreneur and so brilliant, he just never stopped. So at some point, usually about a quarter way through, he's pulling out a napkin and doing calculus and solving a world math. So I always knew he was gonna do great things. And Chris was always there, so before I even really knew I had them. And it was just special. Like everyone said it here, if anyone needed anything, he was there. You know, stood around, mentored me, but he was always watching for me to make sure that I made it through that day and the next. And we problem solved, and my dad's a little cry with fish tanks. So my dad would call him and Chris would spend all day cleaning the gunk out of my father's fish tank and putting new lights in it. So it was just anything that he could do. And I knew from the time that I got the news of where I was headed, Chris had to be the one that drove me to get a lung transplant. So I had suffered. He didn't care that I walked around and talked to him. You know, he was just right there. Filling out his little calculus on a breakfast and solving the world. Had a bit of an accident with an oxygen tank. And I think he spent 50% of his time, of course, before the kids were out, trying to solve it. And by God, if he didn't, you know, there's a lot of literature on what happened with my oxygen tank that put me in a coma. And I knew when I came out that Regina and Chris would be there. And they were. The pandemic's been a little tough for me. But I know they're going to do great things. And I remember 6 o'clock on March 26th of 2013. I got a call saying, we have lunch for you. Chris was going to drive me. I called him. Regina was feeling a little ill that day. And they were scheduled to go to China. Nonetheless, he came over, freaking out. They had a backpack for transplant for 3 years. Grabbed it, what do we need? I'm like, just the meds. Looked in there, those meds were expired by a couple of years. So he's running around the house, and I just stopped and I said, look, I'm in a good place. We're gonna have to calm down. Need your anxiety down a little bit. And we got into that car. And I don't know what he did then, but the 101 and the 405 at 6:30 in the morning was wide open. Wide open. I mean, that takes some serious talent. And it was just one of the best drives I've ever had. We were both so nervous, made the path that we would fall down. Wide open space, like I said, and we just laughed. And I noticed things on that drive that I've made so many times before that were amazing. It wasn't the traffic, you know, there was houses that we saw, there were things that we talked about. And I'm super helpful, you know, super happy and hopeful that other people experience. People like him. He drove me to a second life, and I will never, ever forget that. So thank you to Regina for letting me into your life, and Chris for all the wonderful things that you get have created the pathway. So like you said, that ventilator is going to save many, many people, and that warms my heart. So for everyone that's sitting in this room, it's amazing that we all know the same beautiful man and love the same beautiful family. So thanks for letting me talk about my ride with Chris.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jorge, for those of you that don't know me. I've known Chris for over 30 years. He's like a brother to me. I know everyone has said this, but he really is the most compassionate man I've ever met. He was always there for me, and I hope I was there for him. I'm so sorry. I'll be here for your family forever. Thanks for everyone. I know this has been said, but thanks for everyone that has reached out in any way, called us, texted us, flowers, food, whatever. It's been great. It's been awesome. It's helped us a lot. I know the kids, Regina, and and the family, extended family, I'll appreciate it. It means a hell of a lot to us. It really does. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I can't go on. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sasha. I went to college with Chris, but I really didn't because I wasn't cool enough to be in the same fraternity. But and Greek Man of the Year Jeff Jallenbach reconnected us recently over Zoom. And I'm two, and a father of three. And I too love my kids. And Chris was such a good example. He was such a good example. And I want to give you one. I was working with Chris on a business project, and it was an important meeting to have. All the right parties were dialing into the call. And Chris comes in the call, lying on his back with a kid on his chest. And he's like, hey, let's go, people, let's do this. So, we recently had a new baby, our third, and I've done my best to be a third of a father that Chris was. So, I was having an important meeting, and it was my turn to hold the baby. So I did. And I said, let's do this, people. And it was awesome. So here I go. Thank you, Chris, for being such a good example. When we all need him, we all need him.
I don't know if you can hear me all right. Okay. So my name's Eli. I'm one of the people that Chris reached out to and touched on Clubhouse. And, we were just beginning to get to know each other. First, let me back up and say, we've heard a lot of amazing things about Chris and things he's done for people. And I think that, like, everybody who shared those amazing things is also not surprised because of the way he could be so genuine and from the heart with everybody. I've never heard him be less than that with anybody in the time that I've known him. And, so anyway, she had this, since the tragic day of his passing, there'd been a lot of us on Clubhouse doing a lot of crying. Because he touched so many people. Me personally, we kind of recognized how we're trying to do similar things in different ways, and we're really closely aligned, and we reached out to you, which is not an easy thing, kind of difficult to reach, but, you did, and, you know, we actually started, we hope to develop some ideas that will us out on making technology available to maybe took me under his wing as somebody who can see he was struggling and was gonna have more struggles ahead because I'm on the same entrepreneurial path as he was. But I know that the Clubhouse family, and, everybody who shares his vision is gonna be there to see both projects through. And, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for your Chris. Chris is, you know, the one thing that's taken the edge off of his passing is the way he related how blessed he felt to have had his kids and to be a father to them. And, you know, he said to me that he's fulfilled, and everything, you know, else is just gravy. And, that, you know, that it's good that he left us with that. I think we'd be crying even more otherwise. Anyway, the Clubhouse family is always going to be there for Chris's family, and I'm going to try to be part of that. And I'm going to try and carry the atmosphere project forward. And, you know, Chris wanted to be a big human. He was a good human. And we can all aspire to that. I love you, brother.
Hey everyone, my name's Adam. Thanks for being all days coming up and everything, and one thing I'm really grateful for right now is Chris Jung. I'm pretty sure I met Chris, first time I ever met him, I think it was about, 6, 7 or so, I think, second grade class. I've known Chris my entire life. He and I spent a lot of days, day in and day out for, all my formative years in childhood and adolescence hanging out together, one-on-one or within a special circle of friends we had in the town we grew up in. I think I know, a lot about Chris, at least for a certain period of his life, maybe more than most. And I think he and I and all of our friends, we had a special bond, and we know all the good, bad, and ugly about each other. And we grew up together basically. And I have so many memories from childhood with Chris, just hanging around the neighborhood, growing up and, working hard in class and academics, but also, things, sports, things that teenagers do too, and we, get into mischief and everything together. And, Chris is was one of my very, very, very best friends, from early days of childhood and adolescence. And I can't say how many times we went together, and I especially owe him a debt of gratitude because he, like many of the other people who come up here and spoke about him today, alluded to, he's a kind of a shirt off his back guy and comes to your aid. And Chris was there for me, like when I had periods of darkness in my life, you know, in my adolescence. And he showed me a lot of love and support, as well as tough love. He wasn't afraid to just tell it how it is and give me a kick in the ass and say, just stop feeling sorry. So Chris was a great friend. And then, you know, I continued when he was at UC Irvine. I was in a different school, but I would visit him. I remember during his years at UCI, I would come down and visit him wherever he lived, and you know, we'd spend some weekends together and kept our bond going. And then, you know, you grow up, you start to become young men or women or adults, and you start to go in your different directions. And you know, I'm grateful standing here for those moments, like, you know, Jorge, you know, 08, 09, 2010, I got to come up here sometimes and visit with you guys and watch football on Sundays. And then, you know, a couple of times if I was in the area and stop by, and I'm really grateful for those moments because, you know, since around 2000 or so, you know, it becomes farther between, you know, your chances to see, you know, your people you grew up with. So I'm just grateful for those moments, you know, more recent moments of at least being able to see him a few times. And but you know, followed him through, you know, social media, and also was just amazed by the things, you know, he was doing. And I've always admired his entrepreneurial spirit and brilliance. And you know, one thing I really, Chris and I always texted each other happy birthday all the way through, you know, just the last one. And I was always really grateful for that too. And that always felt good to know that, like, you know, on your birthdays, like someone really close to you remembers, and you remember theirs. It was nice just to exchange those few words just once a year. And I'm gonna really miss Chris. And, you know, when I first heard the news of this, it had me, you know, questioning some things, and, you know, like what he obviously touched a lot of us in his early years. He touched a lot of people's lives. He was so funny, and like, there were so many things that had me like just hurt my inside. I was just hurting on my insides from just laughing so hard. He was really a hilarious guy. And I think that, you know, see him go, you know, it's made me look at some things in my own life too. And, you know, I feel like there's a legacy besides with his family and his children and everything. There's another legacy he leaves with all of us, in the sense of, we can all look to him as that one. So one speaker mentioned about he's a good example to just look to on, you know, how to, you know, carry yourself. He reminded me to maybe take a break sometimes. Don't, you know, maybe it's not good to go all out all the time, and pace yourself. So I'm rambling a little bit at this point, but I just love you, Chris, and very, very special friend to me, you know, I've ever known. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Chris's family, I'd like to thank you all for coming and showing your love and support. And I'd like to thank everyone who works for his family and for Chris. Thank you all for coming. And if you did not get a chance to sign the guest book, please sign it on your way out.